World Order, it's great to be here. I hope you guys had a great Tuesday. We're going to get into some five-star tackleness that we are going through between David Sanders Jr. and Josh Petty, plan B potentially. David Sanders Jr. Chalk is to Ohio State right now. It's between us and Tennessee. We're going to break that down. Talk about what's going on inside the Woody Hayes. The guys have been around. Carson Hinsman went to the LaCharles Bentley Center Summit. We're going to talk a little bit about that and take your questions as always. We appreciate you guys. Always being a part of this show. Again, this is a huge show because you guys make it one each and every night. We appreciate you guys. We go every night, pretty close every night, and we just always appreciate you guys being on here, ready to roll. There's always a huge crowd waiting when we open the doors up, and that's always awesome to see. So thank you for that. All of our regulars, thank you guys. Thank you to our mods, again, Kim, Doreen, Akeem, and Devin for keeping the chat awesome and fiery and fun, and it's always awesome to see the chat moving like crazy because of you guys being active on the show. Also, special thank you to our armed service members, along with our police officers, our firefighters, our first responders. Thank you guys for keeping this country great. Stand up for your country. We appreciate all that you guys do. We never stop thinking about you guys. And you guys are not neglected on Buckeye Scoop. We appreciate all of you for doing what you guys do. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like. Click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Subscribe to our audio feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you guys listen to your podcast. That is a huge thing you can do, along with subscribing to our YouTube channel. That is all free. It takes about 2 seconds to do. Leave us a 5-star review. Those all really help us out, and they take literally no time at all to do. And it's all free. So we appreciate you guys doing all of that. Let's make this a huge show. This will be a huge show because you guys make it one. And we appreciate you guys for being on here each and every night. Nevada, the tackle roulette is rolling along. David Sanders Jr. Chalk is Ohio State right now. I feel really good about everything I heard today. It's us in Tennessee. Paris Johnson, Monica Johnson Monica Daniels is doing major work. Wants to be a doctor. Obviously, we had everything on a tee for him. Loved everything about it. But this kid's going to be a big-time NFL player once he's out of Ohio State. And again, the Paris Johnson template is something that is very enticing if I am that kid. Graduate in 3 years, get into grad school, go off to the NFL, play 10, 15 years in the NFL, and then already be ready to start grad school when you're done. I think that would be an amazing archetype for David Sanders Jr. But there's also a little bit of thunder around Josh Petty. Josh Petty's a kid who I love. I'm going to toss this film on in a second. He's another big tackle. I just don't think we're going to get both, but if we get either of these guys, this is the best class in the history of college football, in my opinion. I think with Carter Lowe paired with either Josh Petty or David Sanders Jr., I think it'll be absolutely incredible. And then across the board, the talent is just astounding at this point. What are your thoughts? Because again, I know that if there's one thing I've learned being a former tackle, and I was very blessed to be an All-American, played on a great team, was a captain, people love talking about offensive tackles, which is hilarious to me because I never thought anybody cared about tackles until I got into the recruiting game with you and we started BuckeyeScoop.com, and people love talking about tackles. But what are your thoughts?
Well, I think the Decorian Moore, I won't say decommit, but not commit, really is kind of having some far-reaching implications for Ohio State internally, because right now there's kind of a land grab going on between the position coaches for the money that's been freed up from the Decorian Moore. So could that go to another wide receiver? We've talked about Vernell Brown. We've talked about Jimmy French. That's a possibility. But Justin Fry's kind of throwing his hat in the ring there for Petty because he thinks that there's a chance at him. He thinks with a significant NIL offer that you could get him regardless of what goes on with David Sanders. Is it conceivable you could get Sanders and Petty? It's not inconceivable. It wouldn't be impossible that it would happen. Clearly, would Petty serve as a plan B should the unthinkable happen at Sanders go? Sure, that could happen as well. But I think the Decorian Moore salary cap opening up thing has really kind of widened the net for Ohio State in terms of what they're looking at from a recruiting standpoint. And so I think you're going to continue to see names that are going to creep up. Guys that maybe we haven't been in contact with, we make contact with, or circle back on, or try to get over the line, like a Malik Autry or somebody like that. But for Petty, I think Justin Fry's basically pulling out all the ammunition that he can, including any resources that might be available from NIL and from the collectives, trying to get back in on him. trying to make him feel as a priority along there with Sanders for Ohio State. As you said, they're looking for at least one more guy to pair with Carter Lowe, to bring those tackles in. But would they take a third? I don't think it's unthinkable that they would do it. Is it improbable? Probably, but this entire class, this entire offseason has been improbable. If I told you the eve of the Cotton Bowl, I said, okay, Kirk, I know you're in despair, and but we're going to hire Chip Kelly, and Caleb Downs is going to transfer here to Ohio State, and we're going to get Will Howard, and we're going to get the starting center for Alabama, and Jack and JT and Denzel and Tyleek and all these guys are all going to return for the senior year. You just said, Nevada, you're crazy, dude. There's not a chance in heck that stuff is going to happen. So why not? What would be more unthinkable? Us landing David Sanders and Josh Petty, or what has already happened this offseason? And I'd say what's already happened this offseason by about a factor of 100. So yeah, we've got some money that's been, that's come free. Justin Fry's thrown his hat in the ring to kind of try to allocate it. And it'll be interesting to see how they follow up with that, to see if Petty, has kind of renewed interest in Ohio State and if they can get him across the goal line. But I can tell you that's the objective, and we'll see what happens.
Well, I think that when you look at these kids, kids commit now, and I think that they do, they want to be somewhere before camp starts, but then I think that they also want to see how the year plays out. I mean, you look at like KJ Bolden was a classic one. Commits to Florida State, all Seminole, all the way, whatever, and gets closer to that signing day, and he flips to Georgia. And, and then, they get to that game, and, Georgia, granted, both teams were down, half their roster because kids opted out, but like Georgia won that game like 77 to like 10 or something. And he's like, man, I'm glad I picked the right side on that. So again, just because you have kids committed, like I think that I know that you still have to go out and win. You still got to go out and have the season that, you want, because kids don't want to be a part of a rebuild. They don't want to be a part of a season of downtrodden football, or, if you get housed. Now, again, is it the be all end all? No, because again, I've mentioned before, the 2006 Michigan game was the greatest Ohio State stadium experience in the history of Ohio State. Like, there will never be anything that'll touch that game, because literally it was 1 versus 2, Ohio State, Michigan, night game. And we had like 100 recruits come in, all these official visits. We didn't get a single commit from that weekend. I was like, oh my God, we're going to get Joseph Barksdale and all these kids. Because those kids, you got to understand, when you have kids on official visits and you have big time unofficial visitors, like, Mike Adams was really young back then. JB, Brewster, like I really knew Brewster really well. Those kids are in your meetings all week. I mean, they're in like that's like the crazy thing is like, you're getting ready to play the biggest game of your life, and you've got a bunch of 17-year-olds and 16-year-olds sitting in your meetings, and like you're like a caged animal when you're in those meetings, man, because you just can't wait to go play. And again, that's why you can always make fun of me and say, Kirk, you're an idiot and you're stupid because you like night games, or you hate night games. You like playing in a night game is like being locked in a cage for like 8 extra hours, as opposed to like, just getting to go out and go at noon. Cause like I hate waiting. I have no patience. I'm like 50 Cent. Like I hate waiting, no patience. Like that was one of his favorite lines ever. And I was like, that's what these visits are. But I think that with this kid, God, he's got great feet. I love watching his tape. I've watched it a few times. We run it through here. He's a big lean kid, just like David Sanders. So those guys are 2 prototypical tackles. And it's pure luxury at this point, because we already have a 5-star tackle in Carter Lowe. And in general, you don't generally get 2 5-star tackles in one class, but we've got a real shot at it happening. And again, I don't know how many times in the history of Ohio State, maybe the Brew Crew, if Brewster was a tackle when he came out, and JB, obviously I know Brew moved to center. I'm not sure if JB was a 5-star. I know Mike was for sure, but you don't generally get 2 5-star tackles. I mean, we've got a shot to get 2 with Carter and with David Sanders Jr. or Josh Petty. But yeah, I love the trajectory of it. Again, Taven St. Clair is just marching towards being the number 1 player in the class, and he keeps ascending every time they do the re-rankings. And I think that he'll be pivotal. I think, Carter Lowe, I think the Armstrong twins do a great job with the recruiting. Like this would be another good add to the class. I think that, with David Sanders Jr., again, I talked to some big people today, and they're just like, it's us in Tennessee. We know that, and we've laid. I don't know. There's a single other thing we can do for this kid other than what we've done. I mean, he's got an offer that would choke an elephant. Met all the doctors. He's got his education tracked. He's got Paris Johnson on speed dial. Monica Daniels is the GOAT when it comes to Ohio State parents and laying down the blueprint of what you want your kids, time in Ohio State to look like. Because again, I said, I'm astounded that a kid could graduate in 3 years, top 5, top 6 pick in the draft, and then end up, getting into grad school too. I mean, that's the other thing. So he's an All-American. He basically hit everything except, and he should have been a captain. They didn't make him a captain, but he should have been. When it's that recent too, I mean, this happened 2 years ago. So this isn't like this was Orlando Pace, 30 years ago. This is literally 2 years ago. So I think that would be enticing to me, especially if I was a kid that was of similar body type, similar personality, similar, structure of family. Family is very important to David Sanders Jr., much like it is with Paris and with Monica, Mike Daniels, who's, Paris's, stepdad. Like I think that it's there's a lot of similarity, which again, if I'm a kid like David Sanders Jr., like I'm not trying to be the trailblazer. I'm not trying to rewrite the manual on how to become a first round tackle when I could just follow a path that this guy just took 2 years ago. Because that's what I want to do. If you said, Kirk, this is your steps to becoming a multi-millionaire, a first round left tackle, just do exactly what this kid did. Put your head down for 3 years, and you'll wake up and you'll be walking across the stage, shaking Roger Goodell's hand, and you'll be in the green room with your mom crying with Ryan Day and Justin Fry and whoever. I'd be like, okay, sounds good. Let's do that instead of in Tennessee they put a kid in the first round a few years ago to the Bears, and that's fine. But we've got 4 starting tackles in the NFL that have been drafted in the last 4 years, which is insane. I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot, but 4 out of 64 in all the National Football League, and that doesn't count Taylor Decker. That discounts it in the recent, the Justin Fry, Ryan Day era. Taylor Decker obviously is from the Urban Meyer era. So you got 5 tackles from Ohio State starting in the league right now, and that's incredible. Jonah Jackson got a huge extension to play guard with the LA Rams. Came over from the Detroit Lions. So again, the O-line trajectory is insane at Ohio State, and I'm really excited about this year because I think that we've got some guys that they're not going to have the pizzazz of Paris, but Josh Simmons is rated. I mean, if you look at where he's rated in preseason draft publications, like he's really highly rated. I mean, he's got a lot of ability, lot of talent, a lot of ability to pass block. There's and the thing about him is he's got so much raw ability that I think offensive line coaches will just be like intoxicated watching his film and how light his feet are and how explosive he is and saying, God, if I could coach that guy up and have him play left or right tackle for me, like we'll be straight. Because he's one of those rare dudes that can move. He moves like Paris. He's not as nasty as Paris. He's not as polished as Paris, which is why he's not the prospect that Paris is. But he's really good, And again, this is a huge year for him, and this is his first, full year in the system. Like he didn't get here until like June last year. He was a late portal guy, which is insane. And he still had a really nice year last year for us, and he's going to be really good this year. Nevada, any thoughts on that? Any rebuttals to the stuff that I mentioned?
Well, no, I think with Sanders, look, we always say we tell you the truth, we give you the inside scoop, we'll give you the good, the bad, the ugly. I mean, if Ohio State doesn't get Sanders, it's nobody's fault. It's like we'll tell you, we'll say, hey, Ryan Day should have been more involved. Pantoni should have worked harder. Justin Fry should have made a better pitch. Chip Kelly should have done whatever Chip. I mean, we would tell you that the collective should have stepped up and done a better job. But in this case, man, they've laid it out. They've laid it out straight. They've made a great presentation to him. They've been consistent. They've been relentless, and they feel like they got him. Now, is that a perfect indicator? No. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. But at this point in time, they feel like they're the chalk. They feel like he's given them every buying signal, but they've done everything they can. And as an Ohio State fan, that's really all that I want to know in these situations is, has Ohio State done everything they can to get this thing over the goal line? And it's when there's unforced errors, when there's mistakes, when there's lack of attention or lack of follow-up or other things that happen in recruiting, and not every recruit, not every execution is perfect. But on this one, man, they've done it. They were in early on him. They've let him know that he's the priority. They've let him know he's kind of the centerpiece of the class, and they're treating him accordingly. So with Sanders, I've kind of got that peace that comes from knowing that you're putting your best foot forward. And if for some unthinkable reason we don't get him, there was no getting him. And I don't think we're there. I think Ohio State's going to get this one over the goal line like they have with so many other recruits. But Ohio State's really done a nice job. And I did want to mention that I think it was worthy. Their recruiting effort on him has been worthy of note. And I really wanted to recognize that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, we're the first ones that are, because all we do is just give you the truth. We just give you the straight truth. We're not in bed. We don't like openly lay at the feet of Ohio State like every other, podcast does. Because again, we want to give you guys what's really going on, the accuracy. And again, I think that the collective has been outstanding. I think that Justin Fry's done a great job. I think Ryan Day's done a great job. I think really Monica Daniels has been nails during this whole process. And, Paris has got to go be Paris, man. Paris got to get ready for an NFL season. And an NFL season is no joke, dude. I mean, 18 games, 3 preseason games, long training camp. So, he's got to do what he's got to do. But I think that, we've done good. I mean, we've got a competitive offer. Our NIL is killing it. The foundation, Brian Schottenstein, Bill Lewis, they're absolutely killing it right now, which is great. But I mean, there's only so much you can do. And again, you can't drag a horse to water, and force him to drink. And that's kind of what it is with recruiting sometimes. And sometimes, like if a kid wants to be different or he wants to play, I don't know how you can combat if a kid says, I want to play in the SEC or I want to play for Clemson. Like, I don't know how you combat that. I mean, you can always win, but like we had like Blake Miller who plays for Clemson. Like his dad went to Ohio State and he hated Ohio State. So Blake Miller, who's the right tackle for Clemson, grew up not really loving Ohio State, even though his dad went there. He's one of those guys that rooted for the Miami Hurricanes and wasn't an Ohio State fan. So when we lost him to Clemson, I wasn't like shocked because his dad was not an Ohio State fan. He's like one of the rare people that went to Ohio State but doesn't like Ohio State. So, I don't know how I can just openly like flog, Greg Studoir to death over something like that when that's the truth. Now, again, I know that there's a lot of fantasies that are spun out of Woody Hayes that are parroted by, the recruiting guys who have to, kind of suck at the teat for their information, but that's not how we roll. And we actually get real information from real sources, and it ends up being, really, really good stuff. And it ends up being the inside baseball, which is why that's why we're the scoop. But yeah, I think that, Mark Pantoni and those guys did a great job here. I think that, when you look at Justin Fry, because fair or not fair, like Justin Fry is going to get hung out on if we get this kid or not. And I think that he's got a great class. I mean, he's already got a 5-star tackle in the fold. I like, the direction of the offensive line. I think that we've got depth. And the biggest reason why I don't sweat recruiting at all is because the transfer portal is awesome. I mean, you guys are all going to play the NCAA video game on Monday, and you're going to turn the game on, and you're going to have your quarterback is going to be a transfer portal guy. Your best player on defense is going to be a transfer portal guy. Your running back is going to be a transfer portal guy. So, yeah, like I love the portal. So if we miss on a tackle, like, last year, heaven forbid, we had no idea who's going to play tackle. We get Josh Simmons, and he's pretty good. I'm telling you. Like, I mean, that was a kid from San Diego State that, when we got him, everyone's like, oh, who's this kid and whatever. But he's going to be a draft pick, probably a mid-round draft pick. I mean, if he goes to the combine and runs the way that I think he can run based on the people I talked to in Woody Hayes, like, he could run really good and open a lot of eyes. And again, I watched this tape and the kid can move. He's got a lot of technical stuff that he can clean up, but it's way better to have stuff that you can clean up as opposed to a guy that just flat can't play or a guy that can't move or a guy that can't bend and redirect the way that kid. Cause like I would have killed to have that kid's talent. I had to get by on, grit and, hustle and being like, trying to, win the Indy 500 with a basically like a Chevy Camaro, not a NASCAR. But I mean, I did it. But that kid's a Bugatti running around out there. So again, it's up to him because I mean the thing is he's got to become a pro. If he becomes a pro and starts working, he's got no ceiling on his future. Got a couple super chats, including one from yesterday. ZZM Kim sent me this. I apologize, I missed it yesterday. It says, "Hey Kim, I asked how Brandon Innes is doing after recovery from his injury. Does he look like he's a go?" Yeah, Brandon is doing. He's doing fantastic. I think Brandon's going to be a huge factor. He's going to be one of the 4 guys that plays a lot this year. Hoping that we rotate more on the receivers. I think we're going to have to, because this season is impossibly long. So I think that you've got to get into the deeper rotation, but he'll play a lot of slot with Emeka. I think JJ is going to start over him just because JJ was there for spring. And again, I love Brandon Ennis, but missing spring, it hurt because it gives when you give JJ a chance to go out there and play. It's like the dragon come out of the cave in Game of Thrones. Like, once the dragon's out there, man, it's hard to put the dragon back in the cage. Once he's out, he's gonna go dragon, and that's what JJ is, like the big dragon that kills all the other dragons on Game of Thrones, like Vagar. That's what JJ is. I mean, he just gets out, man, and it's like you better run for cover, man, because he's gonna take a spot from somebody. And Bill Parcells had a million great sayings, but one of my favorite sayings is like, you can't make the club in the tub. So if you're hurt, even if it's not your fault, and I'm sure Brandon felt like trash, because nothing makes you feel like a bigger bum than when you're sitting there watching everybody else practice and you can't practice because you're hurt. Because my redshirt freshman year when I was competing for the right tackle job, I missed the beginning of spring because I was coming off shoulder surgery. Then I got out there for the second week of spring and I like fractured my ankle, so I was out for months. I had a really severe injury, and so I lost the job. And again, that's not Jim Trussell's fault or Jim Bowman's fault, or even my fault. It's just bad. It's just bad luck, bad circumstances. If you get your ankle rolled up on and it snaps, like, there's not really much you can do to prevent that, because it's just part of the game. So you had to go, and I didn't make the starting roster or the starting lineup week 1, and I just kept battling and ended up taking it after 5 weeks, and held on to it for the rest of my career. Nevada, your thoughts on Brandon Ennis? I know he's in great shape. It's funny, I just got a text about some of those guys. What are your thoughts on Brandon Ennis, Nevada?
Yeah, he was going to be fine. I mean, the injury was not a serious one, but like you said, it was just unfortunate. The injuries are always part of the equation for players, and sometimes guys get injured and they fall behind and they just never get a chance to catch up. So he jumps in grabs that starting spot, the old Lou Gehrig, Wally Pipp thing, and then never looks back. And that's probably how a lot of stories have been written at Ohio State. It's been the story of injury and grab an opportunity when it's there. But Brandon's good to go. As you said, they're going to play more wide receivers this year, 1 out of necessity, 2 out of protection from the portal to get more guys involved. So he'll certainly be, see a regular shift this year for Ohio State, and physically, he's full go, and certainly will be an impact player in the fall.
I totally agree. We'll get to some super chats. Anything before we get into the super chats, Nevada?
Well, no, it's like when you got injured at Penn State. No, if I right, you tapped out of that game right there when you had a little boo boo there in the Penn State game.
Oh God, that was the worst. Their fans. Their fans, anyone that roots for Penn State is just a total douche canoe. They're the worst fans in the entire universe. I hate everything about Penn State. But again, I love their atmosphere. I mean, I'm telling you, like, again, I'm not trying to do whatever, but like, if you can go to a whiteout where Ohio State is a heavy favorite, because I don't want you to go there when they lose. Like, we lost there in 05, and that sucked. But if you can go there, or when we lost in 16, if you go there when we're a heavy favorite and you go to that whiteout, it's awesome. I mean, I would give anything for the horseshoe to be like that. I don't know what we can do. I mean, I don't know how we get it that jacked up, but we invented the whiteout. The first whiteout they ever did was the 2005 Ohio State game. And I mean, of course they win. So, my favorite part about being an Ohio State fan or player or supporter or whatever is like, teams beat us, because again, I know everybody gets upset and sad and Ohio State stinks and oh my God, the program's going to burn down or whatever. But like, teams beat us so infrequently that when they do these like montages of games where Ohio State goes to play at Wisconsin, or they go to play at Penn State, or they go to play at Purdue, or they go to play at Iowa, like, they have to show like the one game in the last like 15 years where they actually beat us. Like, when we go to Camp Randall, they got to show like the 2010 game from 15 years ago. And they show that like ad nauseum, like, oh, could this happen again at Camp Randall tonight? And because that's a lot. I mean, they haven't beat us since. Penn State, they got to show the 16 game and the 05 games. They're going to show 2 games in the last 20 years. So that always cracks it. Purdue, they've beaten us like, what? What's funny is Purdue is the weird one, because they beat us, 04, 09, 11 when we were just trash. And then they beat us, and obviously the game in 18 that was like the weirdest game of all time. Iowa's beaten us like twice in the last whatever 20 years. So they beat us in '04 and they beat us in 17. So I mean, like, but they have to always show those highlights from like 7 years ago when the coaches are usually all gone, the players are all gone, most of them are retired at that point. Especially like for Wisconsin, they showed the 2010 game. It always cracks me up. So I don't know. I always think that's hilarious. We can
Hey,
dig in. Good.
fun fact before you get that, was just in Happy Valley at the Penn State Creamery, and Peachy Paterno ice cream is back. So, like, you would have thought that was gone after the scandal that happened there at Penn State, but Peachy Paterno is back, man. And I actually got it. I got the Peachy Paterno as a tribute to you, Kirk, in memory of your dramatic
My
'05
my
game there. Yeah,
my MCL route. You got the peachy pedophile. Peachy pedophile. They got it on
Peachy
the
Paterno.
menu.
It was good. I mean,
Jeez.
that was some good ice cream right there. Peachy
I,
Paterno.
I
It's
mean,
back.
they took him out. They took the statue down and everything, man. The peachy pedophile. Oh my god. Penn
Allegedly.
State. Yeah, allegedly. I mean, they had to put the tarps up and they had the bulldozer rip the
Oh
statue
yeah.
down. I mean, that was an expensive statue. They probably had to melt it down and make it into like a Valerian sword or something.
But
Yeah.
they brought the ice cream back. That's the great thing about Penn State people. Man, they're a forgiving lot out there in Happy Valley. They brought it back.
Oh, they're as inbred as inbred could ever be. All right. All right, let's roll super chats. Beth, thank you for the deuce. If you have a question, toss that in the chat. I appreciate you. Oh, you got one more down. I'm actually gonna grab this one. I'll come back to you, Rohan. Beth. All right. Thank you for the 5. Hey, Kirk, can you give us the insider scoops on which recruits are coming to Ohio State Buckeye for life? I feel like David Sanders Jr. is trending the right way. Now, again, recruiting is the most fickle mistress in the universe when it comes to modern times with NIL and coaches going to the NFL and coaches getting fired and every other dumb thing in the world that could happen, teams winning, losing. So we're not really in the project out the recruiting thing. I mean, if it's in our near vicinity, like the David Sanders Jr. commitment, which is like mid-August, yeah, obviously that'll be on our radar. But projecting out the whole class, I mean, it's hard because I think that there's a lot of guys on the board that I don't think Ohio State. I'm not saying they don't know, but there's always like this kind of you have your the way Urban used to evaluate guys is there'd be a 1+, which was that's JJ Smith. Go get him right now. Go offer him. Go full steam ahead. Accept his commitment. There's a 1, which is a guy that's like a Zen Mikulski or a guy that he is developmental. Let's see how he does his senior year. If he has a big senior year, if he gets in better shape or he has better film, or hey, we really liked him at camp, but we got to see how his film looks. Whatever. There's guys like that there's like this big you know, lot of those guys that are on the board right now in Mark Pantoni's office and in the staff room, where they say these are the guys that we need to monitor, and we want to see their first scrimmages, we want to see their first couple games, and then we got to decide if it's this or if it's this in terms of offering. And then there's the 1 minuses are the guys that they're just not Ohio State material. So it's hard to tell. I mean, 'cause there's always a handful, 3-4 guys that pop up that are committed to lesser schools that we end up going on and we end up flipping. So I can't really name it all. I really like where we're at with Junior, our boy, our tackle, David Sanders. But I just think that, outside of that, I'm not sure because honestly, I don't think Ohio State's sure. I mean, there's always guys that, they know that if they go on them, they could get them flipped pretty quick. So, that's why they can take their time on some of these Ohio kids. That's why they can take their time on, 3-ish, 4, low 4-star-ish type kids, because they don't have the offer list where you're like, oh my God, they've got Georgia and Bama and it's going to be a fist fight. If their offers are kind of that mid tier of the Big Ten, where it's like their best offer might be Penn State, Michigan State, whatever, you can go on those guys pretty quick and usually get them flipped to Ohio State to help round the class out. So, again, it just depends on injuries, depends on transfer portal. Because again, guys don't transfer in season, but you can usually read the tea leaves on kids on if they're getting ready to bolt. So, I think that could help expand how many guys you take. So, again, that was a very long answer for me saying that I don't know, and I'm sure Ohio State at this point in the year, Ohio State doesn't know who's going to fill out the recruiting class. They've got guys that they hope fills out the recruiting class, but you don't always get every 5-star that you're offered, every 4-star that's out there. And, Ohio State at some point has to become realistic and say, okay, we're not getting this kid. He's going to, Miami or Florida State or Georgia or wherever. So let's flick over to plan B and see what we can get. Nevada, again, Beth, thank you for the 5, says, hey, can you guys give us the inside scoop on which recruits are coming to Ohio State? Do you have anything to add, Nevada?
Yeah, I'll take a stab. I'll give you 3 names that I think will end up in the class. In addition to the guys that are already committed, I'll go with Javon McFadden, the interior offensive lineman. I'll go with Turbo Rogers, the running back, and I'll go with David Sanders. Those will be 3, and then there'll be a couple other names that crop up through the season or guys that they circle back on. But I think those 3 guys are going to be in the class. I think we're pretty chalky for all 3 of those guys at this point in time, and I think Ohio State feels the same way.
I like it. Perfect. Rohan Van Gogh, appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for the 5. OSU's med school is top 30 across USA, not Tennessee's. Georgia and Clemson's don't have med schools, period. This should be an easy choice for Sanders career-wise. Well, I mean, I know that in general, like if you look at our business school or med schools, like, I mean, we're really competitive and we've sunk a fortune, hundreds of millions of dollars into, those programs. And, our medical center is a fundraising juggernaut. So I've never in the last 20 years not seen skyscraper cranes like all over the campus because they're always building new buildings, new hospitals. They're doing this humongous project down there now. So again, I think that it makes sense. Is that ambitious? Maybe. Like, I mean, again, I don't doubt anybody's capacity, but dude, playing college football is really hard. And so when you throw like studying for med school on top of it, like, I mean, maybe he's a better man than I am. I know Craig was molecular, genetics or biology or whatever it was, but I ended up being a history major. A lot of guys, they get into business school and they're like, yeah, I'm going to go to family resource management, which is like the business school that a lot of those guys that can't get into Fisher, they switch to. So I just think that, I think it's really cool to say you want to do medical school, but medical school is insanely difficult. Like when you're not a football player, because the hardest part about playing football and being a student athlete is you're exhausted like all the time. I mean, you got to go travel to games. You got to practice, because I mean, you might say, yeah, I've got to be at football for 5 hours today, but you're like running sprints, you're lifting, you're practicing for 2.5 hours. So by the time you get home at like 7:30, like you're exhausted. Like last thing I want to do is crack a biology book and go study for my, my exam in my, 1,000 level, medical school, undergrad studies. Again, I did history, and history was tough. I had to write a 50-page thesis on ethnic cleansing to cap out my career, which is, you want to talk about like a miserable paper to write. Writing 50 pages about people getting, every bad thing in the world happening to them in ethnic cleansing was pretty brutal. That was a lot of badness. But I don't know. Like if I was this kid, man, I would. And again, maybe I'm just soft and I'm a little sugar cookie over here. But I mean, that's to have that heavy of a course load when you've got a singular focus of trying to get to the NFL. I don't know. That's just me. And again, like I went back, I got my MBA. Life is amazing. But football is really hard. And if it's, stay up and study for another 2 hours to get that B plus versus go to sleep and get, 8 full hours of sleep, like, man, I'm taking that sleep every time. Because I'm telling you, like if you're exhausted and you go out and you lay an egg versus Penn State, the whole world knows. If you go out and you bomb that history exam, nobody knows. Nobody cares. As long as you get your B, you're good. So it kind of is what it is. But that's just my opinion. Again, I think it's glorious that he wants to do that. And again, Simon Fraser was a guy that wasn't his track when he was an undergrad, but he went back to school and he got all of his undergrad stuff that he had to get into med school. He got into med school, did the whole trajectory. Again, I'm not an expert on doing the fellowship and going to doing the understudy stuff and whatever, but he did all that and now he's a doctor. So again, like you don't have to do it all during undergrad if you just want to come back and do it at some point. Because again, you never know where life's going to take you. And if he makes $150 million, as an NFL player, like, does he really want to go work in an operating room after that? I don't know. I wouldn't. But again, that's just me. And you can call me sugar cookie. It's fine. I'm all good. Nevada, Rohan Van Gool, thanks for the 5. Says OSU med schools, top 30 across the U.S., not Tennessee's, Georgia, and Clemson. They don't have med schools, period. This should be an easy choice for his career. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, whenever I hear about players, especially high profile players, talking about educational stuff, that I always kind of chuckle because I'm just not sure how serious they are. But I think it's nice to say, and I think it's nice to be part of the presentation. Um, but to your point, the objective here for him is to become a centimillionaire. And if you do that, are you going to be really working a 16-hour shift at some ER in Los Angeles? I'm not sure if I see that, but it certainly checks another box for Ohio State. The fact that the medical school is so well regarded. If that matters, even one, if it really matters, like, because I know he stated that it matters, but when he's really going down to the calculus, if it really matters even a little bit, that certainly is an advantage. I mean, I think we're down to best fight song at this point, and we got "Hang On Sloopy" versus "Rocky Top" or something like that. So I think they probably got us. What do you think, Kirk? Do you think they've got a better fight song than we do? Because I know we get the better medical school, but what do you got? Hang On Sloopy
Fight? No, you mean
versus
fight
Rocky
the
Top.
team across the field. That's our fight song.
Well, but that's not really. I mean, that's not really. I mean, that's an alma mater type of thing. I'm talking about. I'm talking about.
The alma mater is Carmen, Ohio.
I know, but you don't
I'm
know.
not trying to play
I'm
gotcha,
talking,
but I'm just saying it's like it's fight the team
no,
across the field versus Rocky Top. I mean, I
no,
like fight the
I
team
mean,
across the field because I think every high school in Ohio copied that as their fight song. Like I had it. I swear every school I played against in the Federal League in Northeast Ohio had the same song. They just had
yeah,
different words to it.
I think I like
Oh, are
Rocky
you
Top.
are you gonna go Rocky Top?
I think I like Rocky. I've actually been there in Tennessee for a game, and they're all singing "Rocky Top, you'll always be." I was actually in a bar with Peyton Manning singing Rocky Top. Believe it or not,
Shut up! Really?
I did. Yeah, yeah, that's a true story. That actually happened. By one time, I got taken to a Tennessee game, and the guy that brought me was like, "Hey, we're going to the game, and we're sitting in a box." And I was like, okay, so I dressed kind of like nice because I was thinking, like, okay, we're sitting in a box. I'm going to dress nice, and they were like box seats, but they weren't in a box. It was outside, and it was colder than heck, and I like froze to death, and I was just like so bitter. But then we went to this bar afterwards, and Peyton Manning was there, and he sang Rocky Top, and it was really exciting. So that kind of made up for it. Because Peyton Manning wasn't that, and Peyton Manning was a big deal, but he wasn't like obviously Peyton Manning now. He was still a college kid, and that was kind of fun.
Oh, really? So this is like
Yeah.
97, 96?
Yeah, it would have been his junior year. It would have been his junior year.
Wow. So 96, you saw
Yeah.
Peyton. Is that the year they beat us in the Citrus? No, that was 95. That was Eddie's last game.
Yeah,
That
that was the cleat year. That's what they cheated. I'm still bitter about that, but they cheated. They cheated on those cleats.
Yeah, I don't know. I like our fight song better than Rocky Top. I mean, I can't imagine a bunch of inbred hillbillies singing something that I'd like more than fight the team across the field, but that's just me. I mean, maybe I'm old fashioned. Like I hate here's the thing. I have this love-hate relationship with the SEC. I love the SEC. I wish that the Big Ten was like the SEC. I'm hoping that Rob Petiti will get us to be more SEC and more aggressive, and because they just do everything to win. Like they don't care. Like they don't drug test their guys to death like our guys do. They don't. They've only got 16 sports, so their baseball teams fly on charter jets. Our kids got to fly on Frontier Airlines and can't check a bag because they gotta. Oh, what's your check bag? Oh, mine's the pine tar and the and the balls. It's like we're so cheap and like thrifty and hillbilly when we do stuff, and it's just like the SEC just is strong. They do stuff the right way. Again, they didn't stop playing football in 2020. They didn't ban the fans from going. So again, I'm a big fan of the SEC, but I always hated Tennessee. My best friend's kid went there and played baseball there for a couple of years, and so I was kind of a pseudo Tennessee fan. We actually owned a Tennessee sweatshirt to support Ryan Miller, who's now at Ohio State, which is great. But I don't know, man. It's hard to pick against like Ohio State's fight song just because I've heard it so many times, and we better hear it a lot this year with this offense and what we've got dialed up with Chip Kelly. Because if we don't, man, something's gonna be wrong. All right. Sean Schrock, thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for being an Ultra member as well. And thank you again for coming to our outing a couple of weeks ago on that Saturday. That was a blast. It was great seeing you. Hey, Kirk and Nevada, just wanted to say thank you for having this amazing show. Appreciate you, my man. I have met so many amazing people and have made some amazing friends. Plus, I get the latest news on my favorite team. That's very kind of you. Again, we grind, 300 and probably 50 days a year right now doing this show. So people think we're nuts. We go on weekends, we go on Christmas, we go on New Year's Eve. Shout out to the wives because my wife knows that we don't get to go on dates at night because I got a podcast because it pays for the groceries. So shout out DoorDash for getting us our dates. But no, I appreciate you guys. Again, I love meeting you guys in person. Like when we have our next outing will be in August. It'll be at a brand new Buffalo Wild Wings in Grove City. Really excited about that. But I just like I said, I love meeting you guys, getting to know you guys. I know that you guys are obviously humongous Ohio State fans, but the community here is unbelievable, and there's nothing else like it in the sphere of Ohio State football, or really, I mean, I'd love to see any show that has a constituency like we do. You guys are razor sharp. You guys bring incredible questions, and again, I compliment you guys because the questions you guys bring are amazing, and it's stuff a lot of times we're like, man, I wish I'd have thought of that for the show, but you guys bring it, so it's kind of like having like 1,000 kind of co-hosts when you guys can ask the questions and you guys can kind of dictate the show sometimes. And again, I love it because I love giving you guys what you want. So if you guys have a question you're dying to answer and you super chat it and it goes into our pay it forward, like I love answering them because there's probably questions that other people hadn't thought of that they'd love to know the answer to, and you guys ask it, and it's just been an amazing thing. We go hour and a half, 2 hours when you guys are cranking. I mean, the thing that Nevada and I, because we talk for probably, you can ask him 5 hours a day. I'm always on the phone talking to him, and it's just like, we can't wait to see what the season's going to be like. I mean, this is the dead of the offseason. Everyone else in the world is on vacation except for Nevada and I. We're grinding along like we always do. And I can't wait to see what the season's going to be like. I mean, I bet you guys are just giddy to get to that Akron game, get into preseason camp, get the intel rolling, get the nuggets. So I'm just excited for everything, but I just really appreciate you, Sean. Again, Nevada, Sean, again, thanks for the 10. Thanks for being an Ultra member. It says, hey, Kirk and Nevada, just wanted to say thank you for having this amazing show. I've met so many amazing people and I've made some amazing friends. Plus, I get the latest news on my favorite team. What are your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, it's a special community. It's really kind of a phenomenon. It's grown bigger and wider and faster than Kirk and I could have ever dreamed. But I thought, Kirk's point about you guys in the questions, I mean, it's so spot on because there's only Kirk and I can come up with so many topics, but when we've got 1,000 other partners in the show with us coming up with questions and topics and ideas and things like that, it really makes the show stay fresh and we love being a part of it, and I'm glad you guys are here. But we really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, of course. Appreciate you guys always for being on here. Mark Pollitt, thank you for the 20. Appreciate you, my friend. Kirk, I know things will be added as the season unfolds, but at this time, does Will Howard and the other QBs know the complete playbook? Nevada OH. Yeah, I think that if they don't, they better get back from Tahiti or wherever they're at, Bora Bora. But no, I'm kidding. Those guys all know the playbook by now. I mean, I think that when you're a guy like Will Howard, who's been he's not a freshman, he's not some guy that has some remedial playbook. I mean, he was at K-State, he was a starter. Like those guys know how to learn information, digest information, and Chip Kelly, I'm sure, has been grinding those guys into mincemeat, making sure that they know everything. Because it's like, if these guys don't know it cold by now, you're in trouble. Like this isn't 2003. This isn't like when I showed up to Ohio State, I'd never seen anything. I didn't get a playbook until my first day. And, the first day I'm there, I had to go out and practice. And I'd never even seen a playbook before. So I didn't know any of the plays. I didn't know the cadence. I didn't know anything. So that was wild, to say the least. Now, these guys get here in January. And that's kind of the benefit to these guys being able to either transfer or enroll early, is they've been learning the playbook since January. So all of the basic concepts they know stone cold. The advanced concepts, I'm sure they know stone cold. I mean, obviously, Will's the only guy that is new, other than Julian and Air, but no one's counting on Julian and Air to do anything this year. But yeah, they know it. I mean, everybody on the team should know their plays by now. everybody. I'm talking, even the guys that got here in June, because that's on, especially now that all these, they've got 850 coaches in the Woody Hayes now. Those guys need to be grinding these kids into mincemeat to learn the plays. Because again, that was my job in 2012. With Urban Meyer showing up, all of the stuff that we knew, all of the old plays, and it includes the coaches. Like I had to learn a whole new playbook, and I had to know that cold because man, there's nothing. If you want to have your legs cut off in life as a coach, have a kid ask you a question about a play or a playbook or something in the playbook, and you don't know the answer because you want to talk about losing their trust like instantaneously. If I had Marcus Hall ask me a question or Jack Muir ask me a question, and I like stammered around or bumbled around, it's the quickest way to lose your kid by far. So I do that stuff cold. I had to teach it cold to Norwell and Lindsley and those guys. I mean, to their credit, I mean, I beat them to death with it because I wasn't about to be the guy that would get crucified by Urban Meyer because I was not about that life. I'm not trying to be. Urban Meyer was like the Eye of Sauron from Game of Thrones, or not Game of Thrones, excuse me, Lord of the Rings. I get all my mythology stuff mixed up, but he had this thing that Urban would do where he would go to the team dinner. It would used to be at the Fawcett Center. Now they have a cafeteria in the Woody Hayes, and he would sit down, at a table with guys. And he usually wouldn't do this to the young guys, but he'd do this to the older guys, like a Norwell or a Lindsley or a Mihort. And he would take like the salt shakers and he'd set up like an offensive line and he'd quiz the guys on the offensive plays. And if your guys didn't know that, I mean, it was like an execution the next day in the staff meeting. So I told those guys, I'm like, look, you guys might hate me because I'm going to wear you guys out with these plays and making sure that you guys know all the fundamentals and every rule. And when they bring a blitz here, you do this, and this is how you check stuff versus a cover zero. And but if Urban sits across from you at that table, it'll be so redundant at that point that you guys will be like, man, I'm really glad Kirk killed us with this. I beat kids to death with the playbook because I was like, I'm not about to have our room be the weak link and be the crappy room. Because again, there's always, there's 11 position groups, and there always has to be one that's kind of in last place. And I was like, well, it ain't gonna be us. I mean, we're gonna be at the top of the leaderboard as long as we can be, because we didn't start out too hot. I mean, Norwell missed that first meeting, so we were already behind the 8 ball with Urban. But we grinded those kids, and again, that's why when you've got Billy Fessler, who is like the 5th quarterback coach on the team now. Like he came from UCLA. Like he can help out with Will Howard and Aaron Nolan and Julian Sain. And, Chip Kelly is going to be all over Will Howard to make sure that he's right, and Ryan Day will. But this is the time of the year where, if you want to make your mark as a young coach, one of these GAs or QCs or whatever, teach the young gunners everything, like JJ's young. But get him cold in the playbook, like ice cold. Like that's where you want to get those guys through. Nevada, I don't know if you have anything to add to this, but again, Mike Paul, I appreciate the 20 man. Thank you so much. I know that things will be added as the season unfolds. But does Will Howard and the other QBs know the complete playbook? Do you have anything to add to that, Nevada?
No, Will knows the playbook, and Will's dropped about 10 pounds. Will's in great shape, man. I'm telling you what, Marati's been beating that guy to death, and he's in great shape, looks great, jacked, a lot faster, a lot nimbler. I think he's poised for a big year, man. I think the Ohio State coaching system has been great for him. I think the nutritional and strength and conditioning system has been great for him, and for him to have all this tremendous talent around him. I think I think anybody doubting Will Howard is crazy. I think he's going to have a monster year, and he's been putting in the work to make sure that he's ready, and he's definitely looking ready.
Yeah, I think he's gonna have. And again, a lot of people that for whatever reason doubt Will Howard. Like I love everything about this kid. I think he's competitive. I think he's assimilated well into the program. For the guys I talk to, again, it's not my opinion. I talk to people in the program, and they really like him. Which I mean, for the quarterback, you don't have to be beloved. You don't need to be some cuddly bear or whatever. But it helps. It really helps galvanize guys when people actually like you. People love Troy Smith, man. And that was the great thing about Troy. JT Barrett, Justin Fields, CJ. It makes it a lot easier to go out there and shoot yourself up when you're blocking for a guy that you really care about, as opposed to a guy that you might not. Chocolate Chip Scoochie, thanks for the deuce. Hope you're doing good, my friend. Is Chris Henry Jr. reclassifying? That's the rumor right now. It's not been confirmed, but I'm telling you, man, these guys got a shot to make $1 million in NIL, and it's like I think it makes a lot of these guys look into what's it, how many English classes do I have to double up to be able to get out of here? Because I mean that was like Quinn Ewers did it obviously 3 years ago, and he didn't do it for NIL. He did it because Ryan Day is like, hey, you need to come up here and start training with Marvin Harrison, and this is when Marvin was a freshman. This wasn't the Marvin Harrison that we know now, and Jackson, and get a head start on things and whatever. So, you can imagine if we had Quinn on the team right now, or we'd be the preseason unanimous number one if Quinn was our quarterback. But I think that there's a lot of these top dog guys that have huge potential NIL deals on the table. I think they're all looking into it because it's a year of skipping, basically potentially having a catastrophic injury, blown an ACL, blown an Achilles, whatever. Anything short of that, I mean, you should be straight. But like if you're Chris Henry Jr. or one of these guys and you risk playing for free for your high school for another year, and you potentially suffer some sort of an injury, and then all of a sudden, I'm not saying that the NIL deal will come off the table, but if someone's coming off of an Achilles, it's just like an NFL free agency. Like there's going to be a little bit of pause if a guy's got an ACL or an Achilles or whatever. I'm not saying that they're not going to get the same deal, but they might get less. But I'm not sure. Nevada, your thoughts? Is Chris Henry Jr. reclassifying?
From talking to people close to him, I don't think they have the answer to that yet. Like you said, that's something that it's strongly being considered. They're kind of studying it right now. They've got people kind of advising them on the process and in terms of what it would entail for him academically, how these things have worked out. So the answer is they haven't even decided yet. But as soon as they are, I guarantee we'll have the inside track on that one because our sources are right up there with him. And but right now hasn't been decided yet.
Yeah, because again, it's not just hey, I'm gonna grad. It's like how much coursework. And again, this would have been a billion times harder pre-internet, but now with the internet, I mean, it's a lot easier to double up a class and whatever. But it's a lot of times it comes down to can you double up an English class, or in this case, double up 4 or 5 classes if you're going to try to get out a whole year early. So it'll be interesting. Jim Jackson, what's up, brother? Thank you for the 10. I hope you and the wife are doing great. My guy Kirk, we are having a debate in the chat. Yay or nay on Raising Cane's? What's your family's go-to fast food restaurant on a lazy day? Keep up the good work, my friend. For me, like I used to love Cane's, and then they did my guy Eric Mangaro dirty, who was the president of Raising Cane's Ohio. It was a corporate buyback. Eric. I mean, obviously, he made Raising Cane's in Central Ohio. I remember when they had like 5 Raising Cane's, and I hit Eric up and I was like, dude, I love it. And Raising Cane's was actually our first sponsor on Buckeye Scoop. So really, really, really good company. But the corporate overlords came and bought back Raising Cane's Ohio, which really angered me because they got rid of a lot of my friends that were working there, which did not make me happy. So I do not like Raising Cane's. I think that the food is fine. We actually had it this weekend because my father-in-law loves Raising Cane's. But there was a time where I really liked it. But when again, if someone does your friend dirty, it kind of changes everything. So in terms of go-to fast food right now, I mean, I love Five Guys. I think Five Guys is fantastic. I know it's ungodly expensive. But for when you're looking at food that you can DoorDash or Uber Eats or whatever, like Five Guys, like from getting it delivered, it always still tastes hot. It's always really good. I've never had a bad experience at Five Guys, knock on wood. I used to love Chipotle. Chipotle is terrible. Like in college, I can't imagine how much. I mean, I was eating 2-3 burritos a day. I love Chipotle, but it's not even recognizable anymore. It's so bad. And Mexican is terrible delivered because it gets soggy, like especially out of crispy tacos. So to me, it's Five Guys. It's not even close at this point. Jersey Mike's is probably a runner up. But I love Five Guys. So Nevada, I'll ask you. There's a debate in the chat, yay or nay, on Raising Cane's. And what's your family's go-to fast food restaurant on a lazy day?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, my kids love Canes, and I like Canes, but I don't love Canes, but I like it. My kids love it. Like that, but my middle son, that is his definitely go to whenever he that loves he's the Caniac combo guy. I think it's good. I think it's good. As for go tos, when I'm on the West Coast, In and Out Burger, no question. And anybody who slanders In and Out Burger is just a hater. You've never been to In and Out Burger, and boy, Kirk, you are Mr. Big Bucks there with the Five Guys. I mean, man, at In and Out, I could get like 4 double doubles for like the price of like one hamburger at Five Guys is ungodly expensive. It just and for me, it's not about money. It's just about feeling like a jamoke. And I feel like a jamoke every time I order from there because it's so expensive. But the In and Out Burger on the West Coast, in the Midwest, man, I'm going Freddy's. I know I've said this before, but man, I like Freddy's a lot. The steak burgers, turtle sundae, that so. But In and Out Burger, I will accept no slander for In and Out because that is the best value and the best tasting and the most satisfying fast food in the world.
I mean, when I played for the 49ers, I literally would eat In-N-Out Burger. Let me think. So we practiced, mind you, I'm on practice squad at this point. So Wednesday, Thursday were the 2 hard practices. So I will not eat it on Tuesday night or Wednesday night. So Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night, I ate In-N-Out Burger for dinner 5 days a week. I swear to God, every single night, because I was living in a hotel, had nothing to do. So, I'd get done with my day, go grab my sack of burgers, go back to the hotel, smash them, and play Xbox all night. So I was by myself in a hotel room, bored to death. But I ate so much In-N-Out burgers, like that would literally be my last meal. Like if you said, Kirk, you're getting the chamber tonight. Like I said, what do you want? I said, I want an In-N-Out Burger. It's my favorite, 4x4 animal style, animal fries. I love it. Like we walk all the way down to the middle of the strip in Vegas when we stay at Cosmopolitan. Kim and I, we walk when it's 85,000 degrees and I'm a big pool of sweat. We walk down there. Thank God they put one on the strip because they never used to have one on the strip until about 5 years ago. And we would cab like $25 each way to eat In-N-Out Burger to be the tourist. We'd go through the line or we'd go inside and it was just like, but thank God they finally put one on the strip. I wish they'd put one in the Cosmopolitan because then my life would be absolutely glorious, but I don't think that'll ever happen. But In-N-Out Burger is my favorite food in the world. But since they don't have that, I'm stuck paying $15 for a double cheeseburger at Five Guys. But hey, I'm good with it because the way I look at it is it's better than most restaurant burgers and it gets delivered to my door and it tastes fantastic. So that's, again, I could feel like a jamoke, but I enjoy my Five Guys, even though it is expensive, especially if I have a third kid coming, man. It's going to be like a $200 order when I order Five Guys every time, which is insane. But it's just life is expensive when you have boys that like to eat food, a lot of food. Beth, thank you for the 10. Nevada, do you think Will Howard is that dude? I feel like he's very tough, gritty, and I've seen his tape. The guy can't launch the ball. I've also watched Buckeye Scoop all the time. Buckeye Scoop is amazing. I love Will Howard. I mean, I watched his film again. If you guys want to go watch a similar game, go watch him against Missouri. We played Missouri in the last game of the year. Now, granted, I don't take anything out of that game because we lose our quarterback. McCord leaves. Devin Brown gets hurt in the first quarter. Lincoln hadn't played all year, didn't know the offense, and we put Matt Jones, who'd never played center at center, and we put Enoch at guard, and Enoch was as bad as I've ever seen. And the hard part is like Enoch is like one of the nicest kids on the team, so I don't like digging in on Enoch, but the tape is the tape. Enoch wasn't ready to go. He was scared to death out there, and our interior got obliterated. So, but go watch Will Howard with Kansas State talent play in Missouri, and he was really competitive. Did a lot of really nice things. Now, can he be better? Sure. Is he a finished product? I mean, when you're this age and you haven't left to go to the league, you're obviously an unfinished product. But Ryan Day has done more with less than Will Howard. I think Will Howard's much better than Kyle McCord. I think the way that Chip Kelly is going to run the crap out of the quarterback this year, it'll be like a sight for sore eyes for this guy. Because I'll be like, oh my God, we're actually going to run the quarterback. We're actually going to make our offense hard to defend, which it has been hard to defend for 3 years, which is why we can't run the ball. And if he gets those receivers to block, oh my God, I don't know what I'll do. I'll fall out of my chair. Nevada, your thoughts again, Beth. Thank you for the 10 and your multiple super chats. That's very generous of you. Do you think Will Howard is that dude, Nevada? I feel that he's very tough, gritty, and I've seen his tape. The guy can launch the ball, and I also watch Buckeye Scoop all the time. Buckeye Scoop is amazing. Your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, well, thanks so much for the super chats, and I am all in on Will Howard. I mean, I just think I think he's got it. And some kids just have it. They have that where they immediately command the respect of the guys around them. And I think we've seen this story play out before. I think Bo Nix is a really similar situation where Bo Nix is basically run out of Auburn. And you look at his statistics at Auburn, he was terrible. I'm borderline just terrible. And last year at Oregon, I think he completed 78% of his passes, turned himself into a first round draft pick. Um, you know, Will Howard has said, and not in a bad way, but just in a matter of fact way, that they barely had a system at Kansas State. I mean, a lot of it, the amount of coaching that he's getting right now, the amount of attention, the amount of brain power that's behind him, the amount of talent that's around him, it's like a completely different universe for him. And as you said, he was good before. I mean, they won the Big 12 at Kansas State. Yeah, Will Howard is absolutely the guy. He's the real deal, and I think he's poised for an absolutely gigantic year. He's putting in the work. There are no excuses. I mean, if he comes out and he soils himself and he's bad, then you guys can all line up and say, Nevada, you're a big dummy. But I don't think so. I'm all in on Will Howard, and I think he's going to have a monster year.
I just look at like what's Chip Kelly done with lesser quarterbacks. Like, I mean, could he be as good as DTR was? From the Browns, probably. I mean, he's not as athletic, but I mean, he led the nation in rushing with him and Zach Carbonet. And I mean, I would take the trio of Will Howard with our two running backs, Quinshawn and Trey, over that duo. My opinion. I don't know who their backup was, but I'm just saying, like I like everything about where this offense is headed. I like how tough the kid is. He's physical. And he's never had receivers. Like, I mean, Brandon Innes would have been their number one receiver last year, and he was like our number 5. So he's never seen anything like what we can do with this offense. It'll be interesting to see if we can develop a tight end. All right, Nevada. Oh God, this is funny. Cade Weston, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you being off. Remember, Kirk is now officially go blue, and now Nevada is cheering Big Orange. I think is that because I said that I liked Penn State's atmosphere, maybe? Because I mean, I don't know if they're
no. You're the big Michigan fan, and we all know that you're the Michigan fan. And I might be the closet Tennessee, but just because, man, I was there and they had that dog mascot, and the dog mascot. I like the
Smokey.
song.
They had Smokey running around.
Smokey was running around, and that was kind of cool.
Smokey is awesome. I'm not gonna lie.
And who doesn't like Peyton Manning? The Peyton Manning Saturday Night Live skit where he's like doing the youth football thing is I watch that. It's the funniest thing that I've ever seen, and I love Peyton Manning, so it's hard to and that song's awesome. And I can see you being a Tennessee fan, but you'd be in like those big checkered overalls, and that'd be a big pair of checkered overalls if we got you in those things, man. That was like a 9X or something like that.
Oh, I could have a five guy in each pocket. It'd be great.
Like Hillbilly Jim.
That'd be perfect. I think. Hey, I love the SEC, man. So I mean, you guys can make fun of me all you want and say, Kirk, you're a traitor, but I mean, I would if I was Ohio State, man. If I was the idiot, I'd join the SEC tomorrow. It'd be unbelievable. Yeah, it's like we're gonna go down to 16 programs, and we're gonna have charter jets for our baseball team. We're gonna do it big. That's what we're gonna do. But yeah,
Hillbilly.
Yeah, I will say, and I want to hear you guys in the chat because a lot of people are really excited about the NCAA, the College Football 25 video games coming out on Monday, and I'm a little worried because the guy who's the lead producer on the game is the biggest Michigan fan on earth, and he has been trolling the crap out of Ohio State, and I'm worried like. Is Ohio State gonna like suck on the game because literally like this guy's the biggest Michigan? Is he gonna like program it and make it glitchy? Because the guy that made NBA Jam back in the day was a huge Detroit Pistons fan, and he put a glitch in the game where if you're playing as the Chicago, he hated the Bulls because of the bad boy and Michael Jordan thing. If you're playing the Bulls Pistons and it was late in the game, the Bulls would like miss every shot. Like he programmed it. That was like that was literally a real thing. He's like, if my Bulls are playing the Pistons as a tight game, like he literally put a glitch in the game where you couldn't make a shot as the Bulls. So it'll be interesting because like they do all these little cornball things where he picked that it showed like the first college football playoff, and literally like in the championship game it was Ohio State versus Oregon, and it had Oregon win like 42-20 or whatever the score was from when we beat him in 14. He literally put the inverse of it, and it showed us losing, which I thought was hilarious. But it's gonna be interesting to see if there's trolling going on. I can't wait for that video game to come out, by the way. I think it's gonna be awesome. Paul Lewis, thank you for the 50, brother, and thank you for the jacket that you got Kim. He sent Kim a very snazzy Ohio State jacket. Appreciate you, my man. Thank you for the 50. Hi, guys. And Kim, exactly what is the all-time recruiting classes number, and would Sanders put us over the top? Oh God, I don't know. Like if there's like an exact, like I think that one of them has like some composite number where it's like 990 million or something like that, and you know, I think it'd have to put us close to the top because we've got however many 5 stars, especially if it ends up being a 28-person class. Oh my God. But yeah, I don't know if it's a star average or a total stars or what it is, but I feel pretty confident that if we get Sanders, it would put us over the top because we would have another 5-star. Tavian St. Clair's a 5-star now, so and there's a couple other guys that need to get bumped up from 3 to 4 stars that are absolutely crazy. But yeah, I think it would put us over the top. Now, and again, we've got more guys I think we're going to be adding as well. Nevada, again, thank you, Paul Lewis, for the 50. You're the man. And thank you for being a Scoop Hall of Fame member as well. Hi, guys, and Kim. Exactly what is the all-time recruiting class number, and would David Sanders Jr. put us over the top? Nevada, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure because there's so many. There's so many different. There's like the highest average star ranking, and then there's the point system, as you point out. I mean, there have been recruiting classes that teams have had that have been 35 guys and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard, when they've got that many recruits. So I've kind of always considered like in recent. I know Alabama's had a couple that were like legendary. The Texas A&M class of a few years back was really really highly regarded. I'll have to go check the exact numbers on it, but I think with Sanders, I mean Ohio State would be right there. And as you said, if you added a Turbo Rogers, if you got a Malik Autry, if a couple of guys get boosted from just about every type of measure possible, I think it would be right there or at the very very top of all-time recruiting classes. But I'll get a better answer for that for the next show. Tell exactly what that is.
I don't know, like if there's some calculator, but just on this quick little 2-second Google search, there's this ranking system with 247 where like the highest rated class of all time, it looks like it was the 2022 A&M class, which literally did nothing except all their good players transferred, like Walter Nolan's at Ole Miss, but their rating was 333.13, and they got Evan Stewart, who's at Oregon, Walter Nolan, who's at Ole Miss, Connor Wigman, I don't know where he's at, but that's the highest. Some of these classes, let's see, Alabama 2021, J.C. Latham first rounder, Kool-Aid McKinstry I think was a second rounder, Dallas Turner, Ajay Hall is completely out of football, which is hilarious. Alabama 23, Caden Proctor, Keon Keeley, Caleb Downs is playing for us now. So again, I think that the better way that they should rank these is what do these guys end up doing? I remember this Florida class was the number one thing ever. This was like Pantoni's last class. Ronald Powell, Dominique Easley, Nevada's boy Sheriff Floyd, Matt Elam was a first-round pick to the Ravens. Easley was a first-round pick to the Patriots. Both were humongous busts. Never did anything. Nevada's boy Sheriff Floyd was a first-round pick to the Vikings. Talented, but never won anything. I mean, they were a big part of Florida's downfall. 10, 11, 12. I mean, they were, that was the bus champ era, post-urban. Bama, Georgia. Again, Justin Fields, James Cook, who is obviously really good. Quay Walker, really good for the Packers, I believe. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, to me, I would just evaluate it after, see what these guys do. And again, the bigger thing now with the portal is like, what do they actually do at the original school? Because a lot of those kids, like you just saw, I mean, a third of the guys I just named that were the top guys in the class, they're finishing their careers elsewhere. Or they're like, Ajay Hall's completely out of football. So, for me, I don't know. I always think that it's fun to do these, like, the recruiting class national championships, but give me 3 to 5 years and let's see what classes are really the best classes as opposed to, the ones at the day. Because again, these are just based on the evaluations of, a bunch of nerds that work at On3 and 247 and Rivals and whoever. It's like, let's see what the NFL says. Like, let's see what class gets the most draft picks. Let's see which classes win the most major awards. Let's see what class wins the most national championships. I mean, that's where I'm at. Again, I think, but it is good fodder. Like, again, everyone gets excited for the mythical recruiting national championship, but I don't know. It'll be interesting. Like, we get David Sanders Jr., though. I think we top all these classes. Speedman 606, if you've been an Ultra member, and thank you for the deuce. In and Out is the best. If you know, you know. Scoop rules. Nevada OH. I mean, I ate a lot. I mean, I'm telling you, I ate a lot of In and Out burger now. I mean, that's my favorite meal in the world. So, God bless. And I knew the hardest part about like when you're on the West Coast is like, that, I knew I was coming back east to Ohio, and it's like, I better get it in now because, the only other time I'm going to get it is when I go to Vegas, once or twice a year. So it's not like it's man, I'm really hungry for In-N-Out burger. It's like, no, I got to fly to California, or I think they put one in Nashville, but they're in Dallas, Denver, California, Nevada. So I mean, they're not, I don't know. It was that was the thing that when I left the 49ers, like at the end of the season, like the thing I was most sad about was that I knew like I was eating my last In-N-Out burger for at least a little while. So it is fantastic. Nevada, anything to add to the In-N-Out fandom?
No, I just think it's funny that there's a cadre of people that were like In-N-Out haters that are like, oh, it's overrated. Oh, it's this and that. And it's like, no. I mean, I know that we're talking about opinions, but that opinion is just wrong. It's just wrong. I mean, there's nothing bad. In-N-Out is clean and fast and awesome and filling and satisfying and affordable. So it's like it checks every single box. And yeah, so we will accept. No, there's two things we will not accept on this channel: any slander of In-N-Out Burger or slander of the USC cheerleaders. That's the only thing. You can slander everything else, but those two things unslanderable on this channel.
Oregon's cheerleaders are pretty strong. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, they are. They're good.
They might be coming for that neck. I'm just saying.
Yeah, they're good. Fight on.
We got a big influx of cheerleading talent by adding UCLA, Oregon, and USC.
Big time.
We got rid of the Indianas and the Purdue's and the Penn State, and Iowa. Oh my God. Kill me.
Yeah. Yes. Go USC.
Drew Calabro, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Update from a few weeks ago. Rank Park Street Patio, Varsity Club, Ugly Tuna, Mama's Pasta and Brew. Well, I've never been to Mama's Pasta and Brew, so that's going to be last. Ugly Tuna, God rest its soul, was a great place. Right in the middle of campus, right by Barnes & Noble. I'd probably rank that ahead of Varsity Club. Varsity Club is it's just basically a tailgating experience. Frozen pizzas and, decent subs. I actually used to go to the Varsity Club a lot when I was getting my MBA. On Thursday nights, like all of us that were in our MBA class would walk over there and have a few cocktails. And there were times where like I didn't have time to eat in the summer, so I'd go there and grab some food beforehand, and a couple of beers before class. And Park Street Patio is probably number 2. I'd say Ugly Tuna is 1. Varsity Club is 3. Mama's Pasta and Brew I've never been to. Nevada, I'm not sure if you can add anything to this because you probably never heard of any of these places, but your thoughts?
Yeah, I got to say, this is one area they have no native intelligence on. But I can say, though, and I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again just because I really feel strongly about this, the lack of late night eating options in Columbus is stunning. I mean, it's absolutely amazing to me that when I was there on the campus, that like our only alternative was like McDonald's. And that was like terrible. I mean, it was like going to a war zone. And I can't believe there's not a decent later night place available. And maybe there is, but I'm just missing it.
No, not by the Blackwell where you were. No, there's nothing. It's destitute, devoid of options.
It's amazing.
But yeah, Drew, I'd love to hear your rankings. Toss those in the chat. I'll check those out. ZZM, what is up, brother? Thank you for being ultra member. Thanks for the 5. Since you're part of the staff, was Jim Tressel starting to evolve as a coach in 2010? Yes. I wish we could have seen how we matched up against Auburn. Whew, I don't know if we wanted that smoke. Auburn was, I mean, I thought Cam Newton had the best season in the history of college football, in my opinion. And you guys are gonna laugh me out of the stadium, but like, go look at his skill guys, because everyone will say, "Oh, Joe Burrow," and dude, like Joe Burrow had Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. Cam was thrown to a bunch of guys that never played in the NFL. Like, he had like Cameron Artis Payne was in the league for like 2 years, and I mean his skill guys were impossibly bad. I mean, even his line wasn't good. You know, you look at like I mean Burrow had, and again I love Joe Burrow, and this is not to slander Joe Burrow, but you know he had two of the top five receivers in the NFL that are both top, you know, should have been top five picks. You know, obviously, Justin Jefferson was the guy that slipped a little bit in the draft, but you know, Joe Burrow has run to two NFL Hall of Fame wide receivers. Like Cam in 2010 was he was a one man army, and I remember I watched his game against Arkansas 1,000 times because you know we were studying what they did because we had Terrell and they did some read option stuff that we liked and we kind of copied for that game. And I mean, he was so good and he was so physical and tough. I mean, you don't think about a quarterback being physical, but the way they used to run Cam Newton in the goal line, he was the goal line running back. They'd snap him the ball, and there was a play, and you guys can go look it up against Arkansas. They snap him the ball and they run quarterback power, which is like the play that you know we ran with JT and Tebow. He killed their middle linebacker. I mean, like I thought he put him in a hospital, put him in a coma, hit him so hard, bent his neck back, snapped his neck off, and ran in the end zone. And I was like, that guy is the best player in college football. It's not even close. And I thought I thought his last year at Auburn was the best college football player I've ever seen for that 1 year. Better than Vince Young, better than Reggie Bush, better than whatever, because he did it with absolutely nothing around him. He had like a seventh round left tackle, Lee Zimba, and that was it. I mean, I was like, he was literally a one man army, and he won a national title. So it was funny because we always joked that he was like the Diet Coke version of Terrell because, you know, he gets to Auburn and he's wearing number 2 and he's got the visor on. And he basically copied all of Terrell's look, but he ended up being way better than Terrell was. But yeah, I don't know if we wanted the smoke with Auburn. I think we would have given him a good game. We had a good defense, and you know we really just choked it up against Wisconsin up there, which was tough. And they had JJ Watt, and they had a lot of juice. But you know, Trust was the greatest coach. I mean, in terms of you know doing it and guiding that stuff, because you saw when he left, we went to 7 losses immediately. When we lost him and Terrell, it was like, you know, it was like the dragon is outside blowing fire on top of the castle is how we felt. But you know, we went no huddle in 2010. We'd never shown that before. We did that against Arkansas and shredded them. And I think that was like going to be the future of our offense was going no huddle a lot because we did it and we just destroyed them because they never saw it. Nevada, thanks for the 5 ZZM. Thank you for being ultra member as well. Hope you're doing good, my man. He says, since I was part of the staff, and again, you just gave your perspective, was Jim Tressel starting to evolve as a coach in 2010? I wish you could have seen how he matched up against Auburn. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm glad you mentioned the Arkansas game because I think that showed kind of how he was starting to deploy. I mean, he had deployed Terrell kind of interestingly in the Rose Bowl the year before, and had done it against Arkansas, showing stuff they hadn't shown before. And people have to remember, I think Auburn was there to be had because you got to remember the national championship game was against Chip Kelly led Oregon, and they only won. I want to say it was 22-19 or something like that. I mean, that was a back and forth game, a game that Oregon certainly had a chance to win, and I think Ohio State certainly could have played with any of those teams. So I think Auburn was there to be had, but in his prime, Cam Newton was a force of nature. Even in the NFL, Cam Newton was unbelievable until he kind of took too many shots and had to get out of the league. But boy, when he was going, I never liked him personally, but man, I respected the heck out of his game. I mean, he was a force of nature. But I think we could look on any day, as you know, and on any day we could have got him. If Oregon played him to within 3 points, especially if we had Terrell in 2010 and we had all those guys, I think we could have played with anybody. I mean, but
easily.
We never got a chance to see that. Feel like we were robbed of that. But I feel like the football gods are paying us back by having all these guys returning this year, and so we're kind of getting we're getting a blessing down the road. So I'll take it here in 2024.
Yeah, I absolutely totally agree. Cade Weston, thanks for the deuce. 232 on 24/7. So it's like I think it's like 100. That's like 100 away from the best rating. But again, these ratings will fluctuate, and a lot of these guys will get the Buckeye bump, or they'll get bumped up in 247's ratings from 3 stars to 4 stars because they're signed to Ohio State. So it's all big business. They want Ohio State to have a top 3 class because it pumps up their numbers on their message board forums for the Ohio State sites. This is the name of the game. So a lot of these guys are going to get bumped up, I think. So I think that'll climb pretty steadily, especially with David Sanders Jr. Nevada, your thoughts? We're at 232 on 247, which, again, it's so early. Like, it doesn't really matter a ton right now, but your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't have any frame of reference for that. I just can't. I mean, when you think about all the guys that we have in terms of top 50 players in the country, I just can't believe that there were recruiting classes that were a lot better than this. I mean, because I've been doing this for almost 30 years. I can't remember a class like this. And we talked about Ohio State's never been number one in the recruiting rankings ever in the modern era that I can recall. So I think when this class is all said and done, it will rank right up there with the greatest classes of all time. Certainly the best on paper class in the history of Ohio State football. And as you rightly say, we'll see how they do on the field, but on paper, it's gonna be tough to beat.
Yeah, I totally agree. Speedman 606, thank you for the deuce. Thanks for being an ultra member as well. Finally found the upgrades. Proud to be an All-American. So I'm thinking you're talking about on BuckeyeScoop.com. If you guys have questions on how to join our website, now mind you, I know you guys love this podcast and this is a great community, but our website is like 10 times bigger than this in terms of the community size. So if you guys have any questions, just go buckeyescoop@gmail.com. Send me an email. Nevada and I will happily help you figure out the website, learn it, figure out if you guys would like to sign up for a premium membership. I think it's the city that never sleeps. I'm just telling you, buckeyescoop.com is always cracking with new information. All of our stuff is broken on that first. So if you guys like the information you get on here, that's like it on hyperdrive. And that's why we're message board folks. That's what we do. We're on it all day, every day. We love our message board. And a lot of you guys have made the leap to become premium buckeyescoop.com members. And you guys have been awesome. Like, I mean, a lot of the new posters, I recognize your names from on here, and it's been absolutely incredible. And you guys have been great ads, and we have an incredible community on there. So Nevada, Speedman 606, again, thanks for the deuce. Thanks for being an ultra member as well. Said, finally found the upgrades. Proud to be All-American. Any thoughts on that? And we appreciate you signing up and believing in BuckeyeScoop.com because, again, our site is growing like gangbusters right now. So we appreciate all you guys that are signing up for it.
Yeah, if you want the complete Ohio State experience, if your goal is I want to be the smartest Ohio State fan around, it's a no-brainer. Sign up for BuckeyeScoop.com. It's where we are the other 22 and a half hours a day. It's literally 30 cents a day. So literally for the amount of money that you'd find in your cushions of your account, 30 cents a day, you get the full Buckeye experience. You could literally be immersed in Buckeye sports for 24 hours a day. You can still do the podcast for an hour, hour and a half. And the other 22 and a half hours, you can hang out with the smartest, most accomplished group of Ohio State fans that are constantly starting threads. And we have a message board where you type in a question, people answer it, other people contribute. You'll read other people's answers. It's a lot of fun. And like I said, if you want to have the complete total Buckeye Scoop experience, join the website as well as listen to this podcast. And I guarantee you'll be smarter than all your buddies and you'll impress them at your next outing with your Ohio State knowledge.
Like I said, I mean, there's no better time. Like, if you guys want the best compliment to this season, especially since this is going to be the best season in Ohio State history, like, it's just such, I mean, you get direct access to me in Nevada, all the time. We're always on there. It's a great community. I know a lot of you guys are, you love some of the people you've met on here, but it's just, I mean, we have tons of people on there. Biggest Ohio State message board experience there is right now. And it's a super active board. So there's always great discussion, great discourse. It's just great when you're like chilling on your couch, get on your phone, get on your iPad, dig through some of the topics, get some of the inside information. It's awesome. So appreciate all of you guys that are already members, and I hope that some of you also take the leap and join us, because we don't have many people that leave. Once they get on here, they're like, this is awesome, and I don't ever want to leave it. And I check it. The best compliment I get in my life is when people say, Kirk, it's the first thing I check when I wake up. It's the last thing I read before I go to bed. And I can't wait for more nuggets and input and inside information. So it's really fun. Nevada, let's wrap this thing. Any final thoughts?
No, I love the way this class is going. Love the way the off season's going for the dream off season continues. You know, I just like, we're only literally weeks away from. I mean, how long until fall football starts? It's not. I mean, we're down to counting days then, and I'm just so excited. This long off season's been over. We're now getting into football season, and as you mentioned, it's going to be an amazing season, and we're so excited to share it with you guys. So thanks for being here. Leave us a like on the way out if you can. Helps us out a lot. Hit that little thumbs up, and we appreciate you guys so much. So thanks.
Thank you guys, as always. Let me get to my screen. Where did it go? Sorry, folks. There she is. Appreciate you guys. Again, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like. If you want to help us in a major way, subscribe to our Apple podcast and search Buckeye Scoop. You'll see the Buckeye Scoop, which is that's our podcast that we do each and every night. Subscribe to that. Leave us a 5-star review. That is a huge help. Takes 2 seconds to do. Again, I appreciate you guys so very much for being a part of what we do, being a part of Buckeye Scoop and BuckeyeScoop.com, being part of this great podcast. That being said, if you guys enjoy this content, please hit that thumbs up. Leave us a like on the way out the door. Click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Get alert every time we go live, usually around 7 every night. Give or take a little bit of time, depending on kids' activities, usually, if we have to go a little bit later. So I appreciate you guys so very much. Again, leave comments on the show. Shout out where you guys are watching from. Shout out who you guys are watching with. Again, we appreciate you guys so very much for being a part of this show. Again, so thank you. That being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. See you guys at 7. Go Bucks.